Hello, and welcome to this special edition of SUTV News. I'm Eric Davies.
And I'm Amanda Trevel. Today we are going to look into why our government is so involved in our wildlife management and pets' well-being. All that and more right now.
Than any other state with 1.3 million, 300,000 more than the next state, Michigan. The state is charged with the task of keeping Pennsylvania's wildlife safe and their populations under control. Zach Salzgiver has more.
Many people look at hunting as a blood sport, but it is much more. Hunting is a way of managing wildlife to make sure there is not an overabundance of wildlife throwing off nature's balance. Deer are a critical species to manage. Left unchecked, they can affect other species.
Their feeding patterns and their populations can impact other wildlife populations if they're not managed in a proper fashion.
Deer, the largest statewide herbivores in PA, can be quite a nuisance and affect smaller animals in the ecosystem by creating browse lines.
What a browse line is that's basically the height that a deer will reach to try to get a food source, which tells us that the food on the ground is not available to them, so they're reaching the most succulent food that they can.
The U.S. Forest Service says a sustainable deer population to prevent the starving of the lower populations is 18 to 20 per square mile. But every forest system differs in the amount of animals it can maintain.
Every area is different, and it's all about the stages that forest composition is currently in. You have your seedling sapling stage, which obviously will hold the maximum amount of deer, and in about the 15-year time span, that becomes a pole-size forest.
Those seedling saplings can hold up to 40 to 60 deer per square mile. Problems occur when the ecosystem is holding more animals than what it has the resources to support. In Pennsylvania, hunters are used to combat the overpopulation.
Hunters are key in managing our deer populations, which is the largest the Commonwealth is. Without hunters to maintain an acceptable level of deer to habitat ratio, they can overpopulate extremely quickly.
While hunting clearly benefits the ecosystem, trusting the public has drawbacks. The Game Commission relies on education to keep both wildlife and hunters safe.
The Hunter Safety Program, since it was established, has done a tremendous service to young hunters. One, it started to instill ethics in them at a young age. It's brought them aware of the dangers that can be associated with hunting. It has significantly decreased our hunting-related shooting incidents that may occur because young hunters are brought up and made to be aware of the seriousness of it.
PA's annual deer rifle season runs until December 10th. For SUTV News, I'm Zach Salzgiver.
For more information on PA deer management programs, visit www.pgc.state.pa.us. One of the major sticking points in American politics is government involvement and how much is too much. Let's head over to Zach Salzgiver and Allison Dagnes with more on the government's involvement in our resources and wildlife and land.
Why do you think that government's so involved in our pets and our wildlife management?
The government cares because a lot of people don't. So if you have a pet and you aren't treating it fairly, then it's probably somebody's job to come in and say you should be treating your pet fairly. And according to a lot of government standards, pets need to have their shots, they need to be fed, they need to be disposed of properly when they die, which is terribly sad, but still pets die. And if people just do whatever it is they want to do without paying attention to the rules, then nothing good's going to happen. You're going to have dead animals all over the place. You'll have a lot of animals with a lot of diseases, and those are a public threat.
What kind of societal breakdowns do you think would happen if they didn't, monitor our pets and make sure they were getting their shots and so forth?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of pets would get sick. There would be a lot more animals. The great programs that government sometimes can cover include capture, neuter, release. This prevents overcrowding and it prevents a lot of animal cruelty. And the truth of the matter is the government isn't there to step on you. The government's there to make sure that all hell doesn't break loose.
State and federal lands, they still log, and you can do hundreds of acres at a time, and it does help the environment in the long run to do that logging, but they do make money off of this logging as well. And you're taking away from the environment in the immediacy by cutting down these large stands of trees and stuff such. Do you think that money made off of the lumber companies, which it's quite a bit of money, should go back into the game lands?
State or federal government should both take care of those lands and then also reap the rewards from it. If they're public lands, then it's the public's job to monitor these lands and groom them as they need to. And if there's money to be made, I just really can't imagine it's that much money. But if it is, then sure, why not put it back into the government so they could do other things with wildlife?
All right, thank you very much. Let's head back to the desk.
Thanks, guys. For hundreds of years, Americans' forests were logged to access. In the mid-1900s, the government passed laws to stop deforestation and help refurbish the land. But as Zach Salzgiver finds out, clear cutting is still an accepted practice in protected federal lands, like Michelle State Forest.
Oh, and just about every other federal and state-run forest, clear-cutting hundreds of acres is all part of the plan. This year alone, DCNR expects to clear-cut and burn dozens of government-protected lands, not to destroy, but to conserve.
Well, clear cutting, it's a regeneration practice for in which times where you may not have a lot of established regeneration on the ground, so you're going to go through and pretty much cut all the trees, and what's going to happen is those trees such as oaks are going to resprout.
Making sure those native species come back is an important process. Native oaks tend to be outcompeted. One of the ways DCNR combats this is through prescribed burns.
So sometimes if you get a lot of undesirable species for whatever that stand is going to be, so if it's an oak stand, if you get a lot of birch, red maple, black gum, seed or saplings growing up, we'll go through and do a prescribed burn. What that'll do is it pretty much sets the stand back in succession, and it just gives the oaks that are established another shot at competing.
Most areas of the forest benefit from this regenerative process, but cutting near waterways causes sedimentation and runoff into streams and ponds.
Clear cuts dramatically increase sedimentation, so any waterways. And clear cuts by state law, I think some of that's federal law as well, are required to be a certain distance from wetlands. That's ponds, streams, waterways. They need to have buffers to prevent all of that muddy sediment getting into those waterways.
In the long run, the process of cut and burns has great upside, but whenever you are cutting down hundreds of acres, bringing in heavy equipment, and starting fires, there are going to be short-term drawbacks.
Clear cuts have a lot of problems in addition. So the literature has shown that since the 1970s, a lot of work's been done, and certain organisms do really well. As an ornithologist, one of the kind of my focus areas is on habitat management for different bird species, and golden-winged warblers are a great example. They do really well with clear cuts as long as a few standing trees are left. That's the habitat they want.
It comes down to a species-by-species analysis. Some do really well, others may need to be worked around.
I mean, a lot depends on the species that are in that area. Like if we have timber rattlesnake dens or gestation areas nearby, we probably won't have them doing the harvest during sensitive times, where if it's a den site where they're coming out of the dens around mid-April, that period that they're coming out of their dens and dispersing for the summer, we won't have the loggers in there working during that time.
Most species are unaffected by this process. There's still plenty of land available to the animals, and many are not bothered by the disturbance.
You know, you go out and talk to a lot of our loggers, and they'll be running a skidder and look right over, and I mean, there's deer, 50, 100 yards away feeding. They get used to the machinery, and they're pretty quick.
The biggest problem at Michaux is public perception and a lack of education about clear cutting and other types of management.
We have that site right up in the Dead Woman's Hollow area where we just had a big mowing project, and a lot of people were unsure of it at first, but once you start educating them as to why you're doing it and the long-term benefits of it, they really are on board with it.
For SUTV News, I'm Zach Salzgiver.
The only forests that are not regularly cut are those classified as pristine or first growth. When we come back, see how invasive species affect native wildlife.
Also, exotic animals actually make Pennsylvania home, and they're protected too. We'll explain.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's gonna happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
Protecting native species is an important part of the Game Commission's job. Also, almost as important, keeping out non-native species. Invasive species like feral hogs can have devastating effects on the ecosystem.
They not only just scoop up available food sources from our native wildlife with their rooting and grubbing and so forth, actually kill entire plant communities by digging up the root system and so forth to get to the food source.
For the full list of invasive species, visit www.dcnr.state.pa.us. If regulating deer population wasn't hard enough, chronic wasting disease has placed added pressure on the Game Commission. Since being introduced in 2012, CWD has been found in 27 wild deer, a number that the Game Commission is worried about.
We're at a low threshold right now, or low prevalency rate, through all the testing we've done. Other states have gone from a low threshold to within 5 or 6 or 7 years to a 20% prevalency rate through their herds. So it is key right now that we keep and manage where it's found in our wild herd in this area.
Deer with CWD may appear to have a lack of coordination, drooping ears, and increased salivation. If you see a deer that you think may be infected, contact the PA Game Commission immediately.
Humans have driving licenses for their cars, and they need them for their pets. I took a trip to the local animal shelter to find out why.
It's estimated that 70 to 80 million dogs are owned in the United States. A dog license is required if your dog is older than 3 months. Many dog owners aren't even familiar with this law, though.
When I got my dog, they told me that he was chipped, but they didn't say anything about a dog license. They didn't tell me what it was. I don't really know what it is.
Kendra was told by family members and friends having a dog license wasn't necessary. Different shelters and adoption agencies all have different policies, though.
I think it all depends upon the shelter or the rescue that you're adopting from as to what their policies are, and it also depends upon the state, because dog licensing is a state-by-state kind of deal. So there's not a federal law about dog licensing. I mean, it certainly would be nice if every dog could be licensed, so I think it is an important aspect of dog ownership for sure.
If you do not have a dog license, you will be fined $300.
Man on the street can find it out, because a lot of people, if they find a stray dog and there's no licenses on the dog, and find the owner somehow and says, hey guy, you don't have a license here. I mean, so there's a lot of ways you can report that to the Department of Agriculture for sure.
When comparing the microchip to the dog license, both have their strengths and weaknesses.
Well, microchipping is awesome because most vet offices and animal shelters have them, but if your dog is running loose in the neighborhood and one of your neighbors comes across this dog having that dog license on, your dog won't even go to a shelter because they can call you directly.
A dog license is an annual fee of $6.50 if the animal is spayed or neutered, and then a lifetime fee is $31.50. And then if the animal is not spayed or neutered, the annual fee is $8.50, and then the lifetime is $51.50.
If you have your pet microchipped, you can get a lifetime license for, don't quote me directly, but I think it's like $30, and you don't have to worry about it for the rest of your dog's life.
Any way to identify your dog, the better, but both are recommended.
I mean, I would say it would be easier to have a license on them, but I know collars get ripped off. You know what I mean? So the microchip is a permanent form of identification, but you have to be diligent in keeping up with the information and making sure it's accurate.
When any dog is found having a license or no license, the shelter still has a policy on what to do.
But the Pennsylvania state law says that any stray animal that comes to us has to be held for 48 hours.
So remember by January 1st of every year to register your dog for a dog license or get a lifetime license with your microchip. For SUTV News, I'm Amanda Trevel.
To register your dog, you can go to the Department of Agriculture's website and find your local county treasurer's office. The closest office to Shippensburg is in Carlisle. We expect to see tigers, snakes, and bears at the zoo, but seeing them in someone's backyard is a different story.
Some people compare having dogs to having kids, but owning an exotic animal is a whole nother story.
I think, unfortunately, people are selfish. They see something cute and they want it, and they don't do their research and realize how much care that animal's going to need.
The East Coast Exotic Animal Rescue, located in Fairfield, takes care of over 100 animals and 20 different species. It is a lot of hard work, but the lives saved make it worth it.
We just had these chinchillas that came in. They're not considered really exotic because you can buy them at pet stores. But the lady who's dying of cancer had nowhere to take them because where do you bring a chinchilla that they're going to get the kind of care that they need? So even though she was getting ready to pass away, her last wish was to bring them here. So, we'd like to be able to do things like that to help people.
Owning some exotic animals are allowed, like birds, but many problems occur with wildlife animals.
A lot of reptiles are not regulated, so people can have all kinds of dangerous, even poisonous snakes without any regulations whatsoever. So that's not good.
Even the shelters sometimes struggle with finding care for these animals.
Even just finding a vet, even though we are licensed with two organizations, the USDA and the PA Game, for us to find an exotic animal vet is very challenging. Our guy comes from New Jersey, and he is very sought after because very few people know how to work with all these different exotics. So you might get one, but then what happens when it's sick or you can't take care of it anymore? So people just need to really do research before they go out and buy an exotic.
Most of these exotic animals come from labs, private homes, or zoo surplus. With so many problems occurring, owning an exotic animal may soon be non-existent. For SUTV News, I'm Amanda Trevel.
The survival rate among animals who are trapped, transported, and sold in pet stores is low. In many cases, only 1 out of 10 pets survive the trip from jungle to human homes. We humans have the ability to make choices, controls animals do not have. When we come back, see where your money is benefiting our wildlife.
Also, see how you can get involved right here in Shippensburg, helping some furry friends.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? You know you do. Yeah, but I don't know where to start. That's why we're here. We're free, handsome. I think we're breathtaking. And here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial.
We taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
The money we pay for our furry friends' safety caring for animals.
The fees for dog licenses go to the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Agriculture runs the dog law enforcement office, and that is our dog warden, and they are responsible for kennel inspections. They inspect us, so they have a lot of responsibility. So that fee does actually go into caring for animals in this state.
This small license fee helps millions of dogs in the state by funding the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture Bureau of Dog Law Enforcement. Every year, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania sells more than 750,000 hunting licenses. The fees help support over 1.5 million acres of state game lands.
A vast percentage, and I'm drawing a blank on what that actual monetary figure is, goes directly into deer management conservation.
A portion of each license sold also goes to individual county treasuries.
A new club on the Shippensburg campus may be on the way to help some local animals.
Our club aims to help the local animal shelters and the animals on campus that are like strays. Like we have local cat colony on campus that lives here, and as a group we maintain the site where we feed and provide shelters for the strays.
The new group called the SU Animal Alliance has submitted its paperwork to become a club. Thanks for joining us on this special edition of SUTV. I'm Amanda Treville.
And I'm Eric Davies. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and SUTVnews.com. Have a great night.